Hey, Trey.
Let's roll, baby. Welcome into the Week 18 edition of the Ringer Sunday Pregame. Of course, streaming on YouTube and, of course, on the FanDuel Sports Network. John Jastremski here in our New York studios. Today's Ringer Sunday Pregame show. It's brought to you by FanDuel, where we are live on the FanDuel Sports Network. Odds subject to change. Let's welcome in the wise guys as we break down the Week 18 card in the National Football League. Cousin Sal in Los Angeles, a very spiffy Joe House in Washington, D.C. And I love saying this. I feel like, Raheem, for the remainder of 2026, until we start off a new season, the 2026 wise wager winner, Raheem Palmer. I know you like that, Dream. And I don't know if you like that title more or this Carolina future that is now intertwined with what goes on in Atlanta and New Orleans. Just the way you drew it up in the NFC South, right?
Well, you buttered me up, and then you dropped the bombshell disappointment on me. Obviously, I thought the Carolina Panthers probably should have won that game, but they were the victim of some really bad calls. And then, of course, why would you go for a flea flicker in rainy conditions? But fortunately for us, we have one more out, because if the Atlanta Falcons win today and they're 3.5-point favorites and minus 180, that means FanDuel is giving them a 64% chance of winning this game, which means that my Carolina Panthers 18-1 future has a 64% chance of cashing if they could just slow down Tyler Shuck.
Easier said than done. Now, Sal, there are a lot of landmines for Week 18. Obviously, we have the Steelers and the Ravens for all the marbles in the AFC North. We had a quasi-winner-take-all game in the NFC South. We had the battle of the one seed on Saturday night where Seattle takes down San Francisco. What is the advice to the audience, to the betting public, for dealing with, to me, the hardest week in the NFL? People say, oh, it's week 1 and week 18. No. Week 1, at least there's stuff you can figure out based upon the preseason. This, to me, is the hardest week of the year.
Yes, my advice is be careful out there, because the coaches are liars. They're liars. We should know, JJ, as of Sunday kickoff, who's playing, who's not playing, but these coaches all become politicians. So don't be surprised if you only see Matthew Stafford in for a half a quarter, or if, if Josh Allen plays the whole game, or whatever they've lied. They are liars. Be careful. I know there's some juicy spreads out there. They're changing by like 3 or 4 points since you even threw to me now. I am so scared about how much money I'm going to lose today.
We will be monitoring all of the late last-second line movement, which, yes, will get rather chaotic and rather crazy over the next 2 hours. Speaking of crazy, Joe House, Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks are the number 1 seed in the NFC, and the road to the Super Bowl now will go through Seattle. Hats off to Mike McDonald. Hats off to Sam Darnold, who goes and puts together back-to-back, 13-win seasons, for goodness sakes. That said, House, if they play the Rams in 2 weeks, I can't wait to go and take my hard-earned American dollars and put them on the Los Angeles Rams. But, a lot of chatter for Vrabel, a lot of chatter for Ben Johnson. The Kyle Shanahan Coach of the Year narrative was getting drummed up. What about the guy in Seattle?
What about the guy in Seattle? We've been properly advising folks to be very careful with this Coach of the Year market, because it's literally all over the place. And you can make a very compelling case for about 6 coaches, I think. But now that Mike McDonald has gotten across the line with the number 1 seed with the Seattle team, and you look at the teams that this Seattle team has beat, I just don't understand what's going on in that Coach of the Year market. Minus 190 for Vrabel, and they're going to handle their business against the Dolphins today. That's a 65% chance for him to win Coach of the Year, with Mike McDonald just clinched the 1 seed on the road in the toughest division in football. I don't know what we're doing here. 30% chance for McDonald, plus 230. I'm going to get a little bit down on that.
Sounds like you're making a case for Stafford for MVP also, House. I won't say it. I don't want you to get in trouble with the big guy, but sounds a little like it.
I mean, I did make that case. He's only 40 yards behind Dak right now for yards this season.
Ridiculous.
One more note on the Seahawks, Raheem. We weren't in on Seattle going back to the start of the year. And in many ways, we talk about mulligans, we talk about breakfast balls. I'd love a breakfast ball on handicapping Arizona and Seattle, because clearly I went through the wrong door. Raheem House clearly went through the wrong door. Sal, I think you picked Did you pick the Cardinals, Sal, to win the division?
Did. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
my goodness. I bet them to the playoffs.
Why are you doing this to us,
We're all
JJ?
idiots. We're actually all geniuses, but we're all idiots at the same time. But Raheem, from a betting market perspective, when was it for you where you had to acknowledge, hey, my read on Seattle was just off from what I thought all summer? Was it like week 5? When did that win narrative, whatever you want to call it, start taking shape?
I think it was week 2. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, because they played the 49ers tough, and then they blew out the Steelers like on the road. So I think it was pretty clear right away that, this defense was solid and they were going to be able to protect Sam Darnold. So they've gotten it done. So I got to give them some credit.
Boys, let's get to the juiciest game on the Week 18 card. It's not even close. It's not up for debate. The winner will host a playoff game more than likely next Monday night. The loser out of the playoffs, and the loser of this game is going to have a whole lot of chatter involving their head coach, whether it's John Harbaugh in Baltimore, whether it's Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. This line is at 3.5. The Ravens laying 3.5 in Pittsburgh. Total is at 41.5. Sal, Lamar Jackson, who did not play a week ago in Lambeau, is back at quarterback. Does that change the pick for you, dare I say, one way or another? Ravens, Steelers, biggest game of the day. Who you got?
It kind of does change it for me, JJ, and I'm going Steelers plus 3.5. I feel like the league got what they wanted, right? 2 scatterbrained teams dying to lose this division in prime time, and now we have it. Honestly, for me, this comes down to a couple of disappointing teams where you don't know really what you're getting week to week, and if you go with the favorite, you're taking a quarterback, like you said, Lamar Jackson, a guy you're not even sure who should be the starter right now. Half the Ravens fans aren't sure he should be the starter, that it should be Huntley. And as erratic as the Steelers have looked and as dead as they looked against Cleveland last week, I'm going to take them and grab the points. As an underdog against the Ravens, Mike Tomlin, 14-4-2 against the spread while he's with the Steelers. 5 of the last 12 games have been decided by 1, 2, or 3 points, and 8 of the last 12 by 1 through 5 points. So if you like Pittsburgh on a teaser, Joe House, you should be okay. And that maniac TJ Watt is, played a couple weeks removed from a collapsed lung. God bless him. I don't know how he does it. I think he's going to make an effort there. Puts a little pressure on Derrick Henry and the running game. And I'm really not even sure Harbaugh has the right game plan going into this anyway. So Mike Tomlin says, to hell with this 9-8 stuff. We're going 10-7. We're capturing the AFC North flag. Final score 22-20, Pittsburgh.
Sally, I'll take it a step further. This is going to be my wise wager for Week 18. We want to go out with an absolute bang, so we're going to wait for Sunday Night Football. Why is Lamar Jackson laying 3.5 in this spot when he clearly has not been the same quarterback and looks nowhere close to the Lamar Jackson we saw in prior MVP years? Now, people are going to look at the Pittsburgh Steelers with no DK Metcalf and going to say, how are they going to be able to make plays down the field? I don't think they need to. A lot more Fryer move, a lot more Jonnu Smith, get both running backs involved, and I don't get the sense Derrick Henry is going to run like a man possessed like he did a week ago against the Packer defense that is beyond depleted. You mentioned the trend, Sal, Mike Tomlin, at home in this rivalry. I mean, you want a rah-rah spot. This is the rah-rah of all rah-rah spots because it could be the last ever game that Mike Tomlin coaches with the Steelers. Could be the last ever game Aaron Rodgers plays as a professional NFL quarterback. I'm with you, the Steelers went outright, but if I'm getting 3.5, I'm gladly taking the 3.5. Watt's back, good Rodgers vibes, Tomlin voodoo, Steeler voodoo, Steelers outright. House, you mentioned the tease. What's the tease?
Yeah, the thing you're supposed to do in this game is play the underdog, and both of you guys have touched on it. I mean, just in general, when Mike Tomlin goes up against John Harbaugh, 25-7-3 against the spread, the underdog. Tomlin, as head coach of the Steelers, as an underdog against the Ravens, 14-4-2 against the spread. Let's just layer in one more angle. Tomlin, 13-2 straight up and 10-4-1 against the spread when the Steelers score fewer than 10 points in their previous game like they did against the Browns. 7-1-1 against the spread when the Steelers are a team that is above 500. So let's just touch on one of the angles that has been wonderful all season long. That's the Cousin Sal. This is not the Steelers special. We're not playing the Ravens first half, the Steelers to win outright, but that would certainly suit both you boys. We're going to just do a nice tease. We're going to take the Steelers from 3.5 up to 9.5 and take the total from 41.5 up to 46.5. That's a big fat under. It's an under at 41.5. Let's go ahead and play at 46.5.
I like it.
Minus 112 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Cousin Sal's been crushing these all season long. I want a piece of it.
Cousin Sal, is the Steel Special retired now? Is it just the Sal tease? Is that what it's going to be now?
As soon as I retire it, it wins. So, yeah, I would get your 7 or 8 to 1 if you can, but I am disappointed in the Steelers special. I mean, that to me, forget it. It's not, the story isn't Rodgers or Tomlin. It's the Steel Special going down all year.
There's a story for every season. 2024 was about the Steel Special. 2025, it's about the Sal tease. We'll take it. Now, Raheem, quickly on this game. You mentioned with me earlier in the week, if Tyler Huntley is the quarterback for Baltimore, you like the Ravens. The minute you found out Lamar Jackson was starting this game, what was your initial reaction?
Well, if you look at Lamar Jackson against the Steelers, he's kind of struggled in this matchup. He's 3-5 straight up and 2-6 against the spread. It's his least profitable opponent against the spread throughout his career. But I was hoping that this line went up to about 4 or 5 so we could get some value on the Steelers. I think at this current number at 3.5, there are some threes in the market. I don't think you're getting a ton of value on a Steelers team without DK Metcalf. And we see Aaron Rodgers. He's really struggled without Metcalf. On the field, 67% completion percentage, 7.1 yards per attempt, 23-7 touchdown to interception ratio, 99 passer rating. With him off the field, 56% completion percentage, 4.7 yards per attempt, 0 TDs, 0 interceptions, 69 passer rating. So I just don't know where the Steelers offense is going to come from. And if you look at the Steelers defense, they are 25th in rushing EPA per play. So I do think Derrick Henry is going to have a good day, but I just think this number is perfectly fine as is. If I had to play anything, I would be looking at Jalen Warren over 1.5 receptions. They got to pass the ball to somebody, so why not go to the running backs?
I like the sound of that. Steelers can't lose sight of my guy Freiermuth, who came alive on that final drive against the Brownies. He didn't touch the ball for 3.5 quarters. And to Raheem's point, they got no wide receivers. So trust your running backs, trust your tight ends, and go and cover my 3.5 point spread. Now, a game, fellas, that's for all the marbles, but it's not what you think. The game that will decide the NFC South for the Carolina Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be down in Atlanta. New Orleans, the resurgent New Orleans Saints with Shucky, Tyler Shuck, who to me is going to end up as Offensive Rookie of the Year. They're getting 3.5 against an Atlanta team that played a beautiful Monday night game. They covered Joe House's parlay that we gave out in the Week 17 Ringer Sunday pregame. They have a win over Tampa that could end up being costly for the Buccaneers. They have a win over the Rams that maybe not is going to be costly for the Los Angeles Rams. We'll have to wait and see on that. House, since the Falcons were so good to you last week, who is going to decide the NFC South? Atlanta, New Orleans, the spread is 3.5, the total 43.5. What are we thinking?
I mean, I'll just put it to the wise guys. Do we really want to live in a world where the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young are in the playoffs next week?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Right now. I know
I want to live in that world.
No, I don't want to see Carolina in a playoff game. Thank you, House.
Dream is a rational economic actor, and I respect the man's mathematical acumen, but I mean, we have to sit through that game if the Falcons pull it out. The Falcons are going to Falcon. So I am playing the Saints on the money line. It's around plus 150 or so. It's plus 160 earlier in the week. And look, man, Saints and the Falcons have been the story of the NFL over the last month or so, 6 weeks. Saints have covered 5 straight games, their longest cover streak since 2020. 4 straight road games by the Saints. They won 5 of 7, 3-1 against the division. Their defense, very good on this stretch. Success rate and EPA per play, second in EPA per play, first in success rate. Run defense strong all season. This Falcons team, what the hell are we supposed to do with it? I mean, the pattern we've seen all season is they go into an island game, they perform extraordinary, then they come out off afterwards and they poop all over the field. The Saints have everything to play for. Obviously, Chris Olave missing is no good, but the Saints are trying to set a tone for next season. This is a division rival. They do not like each other. There's a bunch of Saints vets that are out there talking smack, guys that might not be on the Saints any longer. Taysom Hill, a couple other guys. I'm just going to grab the Saints on the money line here. Tyler Shuck for Rookie of the Year. It's still live right now. Ted McMillan is the prohibitive favorite, but you can get Shuck at plus 450 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. I think everybody's scared off by Noah Olave. Give me the Saints on the money line.
So, Raheem, how amazing is it that you on this beautiful Sunday morning are in a position where, with this Carolina future to win the division, you're pulling for another Raheem who might be trying to save his job down in Atlanta? I don't know how much stock you put into the idea of whether or not they win 18, week 18. I can't say it. Try saying it 10 times fast. You know, the idea of trying to save the job, Atlanta trying to get Carolina in the playoffs. How we feeling about that, Dream?
I feel very good about this game for Atlanta. Because if you go back to their game against the Saints, I think it was on November 23rd, Tyler Shuck got sacked 5 times and threw 1 interception. And if you go through the Saints games over the last 4 weeks, they played the Buccaneers, the Panthers, the Jets, and the Titans. Those teams aren't very good. I think the Falcons are probably going to be the best team and have the best pass rush that they face. And now you got to do this without Chris Olave. The one thing I will say about this game is that if this was college football, the winner of this game would be going to the playoffs because they would be voting these 2 teams in. These are the best 2 teams in the division. Regardless of what happened yesterday or regardless of the record, these are by far the best 2 teams in this division. The Panthers and the Bucs, they're not very good. But as far as this game, I really think the Falcons are going to win this game. I think the 3.5 is priced properly. But if you look at Raheem Morris, he has that defense balling right now. They're playing for him. And then they're able to run the ball. And Kirk Cousins, he's playing for another job. Wouldn't it be ironic if the Minnesota Vikings brought Kirk Cousins back? Because you heard the news this week. They're talking about getting rid of Jay McCarthy. So this is an audition for Kirk Cousins, and I don't think he wants to end his career. You see Old Man Rivers still playing football. Kirk Cousins still wants to be a starter in this league, so I think he balls out today.
You know, Sal, I thought for sure I'd be on New Orleans in this game, and then the Olave news comes out. That, to me, is the problem with the Saints. Where exactly are they going to be able to find the offense if you take away Tyler Shuck's #1 playmaker? Very, very tough game to handicap. What's your feel on it?
My feel is, listen, I don't know what the difference is, if there is a difference anymore between sharps and squares, but I'm taking the Saints plus 3.5 because I think, is it just too easy for what everyone thinks is going to happen, that the Falcons are going to play their asses off to knock the Bucs out of the playoffs? We're sure that they don't want the 4th place schedule, which is pretty juicy. It includes the Raiders and Giants for next year. We're sure the short week isn't going to hurt the Falcons. We're sure they're even better than the Saints. I mean, honestly, Raheem said prohibitively better these 2. I think all 4 of these teams are just about the same. And Raheem, are we sure that you're going to sit back and cash 16-1? I need to know if
it's
you hedge.
18-1.
18? Did you hedge? Because it's in a little tougher spot now to hedge. You can still obviously do it. What'd you do?
I let it ride. I had 2 outs.
Wow.
I had 2 outs to win this bet, so I let it ride. But the one thing I will say is, look, if you look at the Atlanta Falcons, look at what they did to Matthew Stafford and look at what they did to Josh Allen. So if they did that to Matthew Stafford and Josh Allen, I think they could do that to Tyler Shuck. I'm just willing to lay it all on the line. I'm not hedging. If it comes back to bite me, so be it. But I got the best of it. I had 2 chances. Carolina could have won yesterday.
Right.
I just need Atlanta to win at home. And wouldn't it be the most Atlanta sports thing ever for Atlanta to end up tied with the Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers and get someone else into the postseason with the win instead of themselves?
No, lose out on a 3-way tie. Precisely.
Yes.
Precisely.
No doubt.
All right, boys. Let's get to the battle for the number 1 seed in the AFC, and it's pretty simple for the Denver Broncos. Win, and the road to the Super Bowl goes through the Mile High City. The Chargers are in the playoffs. The Chargers are not taking Week 18 too seriously. Justin Herbert not going to play. They're going to rest the quarterback who's gotten his rear end beat basically this entire season behind a terrible offensive line. Line 13.5. Total 37.5. Sal, this is my rat line of the week. And the reason it's my rat line of the week, we're talking about Denver laying margin. That has been a narrative and a theme we've talked about quite a bit. Where you like taking the Broncos when they're a small favorite, when they're laying 2.5, when they're laying 3.5. We saw them at Arrowhead Stadium a week ago against a depleted, bombed-out Chief team, have to sweat it out for the final couple of minutes. I know the Chargers are playing Trey Lance. I know the Chargers have little or no incentive to really get up for this game, but it's a division game. Jim Harbaugh's the head coach. I'm not going to be stunned if this is a one-possession game going in the fourth quarter. Denver's going to win. They'll find a way to get it done. I'm just saying from a line perspective, it kind of stinks to the high heavens. You have a bunch of these in Week 18. This is my rat of the week. How you playing Chargers Broncos?
You make some great points. I mean, do you want to lay 13.5 with a team that scored 10 against the Raiders? I know they won the game, but they won 10-7. So, yes, there's that fear for sure. The Broncos, though, may have set a personal record of mine for number of money line parlays I've made with the same team. So far, I'm at 17, JJ, but I'm looking to do more damage during the commercial break. But I'm not give out a minus 1,400. How about a minus 140 and Trey Lance to throw an interception for the Chargers? I did call Rivers to throw one last week. These are not stretches by any bettor's imagination, but decent value, I think. Denver, not known actually for creating turnovers this year. I think Vance Joseph's defense steps up. They get ahead early. They force Lance to throw. We don't usually see Lance in a full game setting. 54% passer this year, 61 I think he was last year. He had a 5-interception preseason game. Remember that, against the Chargers. So he definitely has it in him. I'm only asking for one here. Minus 140. I think there's nice value in that.
Okay, Dream. We have a rule with the Broncos. Are you following it in Week 18?
I'm not touching this game at all. I'm not touching this game with anyone else's money with the 10-foot pole. Look, you got Trey Lance out there, and that's the extreme drop-off from Justin Herbert. So you just don't know what you're going to get on that end. And then, like you said before, we have a rule when it comes to the Denver Broncos. You want to bet them as small favorites or catching points. You don't want to bet them laying margin. With that said, I think they're going to blow the Chargers out.
So you would lay the wood here in this spot. How's game? I'm not going near at 13.5. No, thank you. I'll avoid it. You probably have it teased and parlayed 10 zillion different ways, though, right?
No, I mean, only a 13-point Denver. That's the only way I would consider
classic
it.
Simmons. Okay.
Teasing him 13
and speaking of Simmons, he actually just dropped a 10-point teaser for.
Wow, look at you spoiling the
10
fun.
or
I was going to wait until after the Patriot game. You beat me to the punch. I might as well give it to the audience right now. Thank you. You know what, Raheem? That's a good lead-in. I appreciate it. Here's the lead-in of the Bill Simmons insanity tease. It's actually not insanity. I just got to figure out what you're laying. Minnesota +0.5 for the game. Jacksonville -0.5 for the game. Patriots -0.5 for the game. Denver -1. Sal, I mean, that seems like a lock, right?
What am I going to do? I'm going to get mad at that? I have that all over the place. Like if I opened my ledger right now, you would see that 1,600 times, some kind of variation of that. But yeah, I'm trying to think who worries you the most. Denver worries you the most because they just don't score sometimes?
Jacksonville.
Yeah. No,
We're
actually,
silent. There's no answer.
It's going to contradict my man's best bet, but there will be logic on this a little bit later on in the show. I actually think because of the way Cam Ward has played the last couple of weeks, it's probably Tennessee. It's probably Tennessee. But we'll get to that game because there are some interesting subplots and storylines that kind of correlate with the 4-team Simmons tease. Let's get to the other game in the AFC that could mean something for seeding if Denver and Los Angeles goes a certain way. That would be my beloved Miami Dolphins, who are playing out the string in New England, getting a gazillion points. The Patriots and MVP candidate Drake May, Coach of the Year candidate Mike Vrabel. Line is at 13.5. Total is at 45.5. Now, I'm going to start this one off, guys. I know Devon Achane is not playing. I know Jalen Waddle is not playing. I needed a man's best bet to have any shot of catching Joe House, who right now is the leader in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
I am a few units behind. I can't go with a safe underdog because it's not going to be good enough. So I basically got to go and shoot my shot, take the biggest swing imaginable, and say a prayer. I'm going to light some candles outside of the Spotify studios when I leave today at 1 o'clock and hope and pray that the New England Patriots do not care about seeding. They're going to see Denver is up on the Los Angeles Chargers. Drake May maybe has thrown 2 touchdowns. They call off the dogs. They rest their guys in the second half. And I know it is a ridiculous, ridiculous bet to make. But, House, it's the only shot I have at catching you, buddy boy. I'm taking my beloved Dolphins, who were good to me last week, at plus 570. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is not advisable. I do not recommend this unless you want to go and buy a lottery ticket. This is the definition of a lottery ticket. But, House, it's the only way I can beat you for man's best bet. I got to take a plus 570 underdog. So it might as well be my favorite team. Why not?
Sorry, JJ. I am 8-8 on underdogs this season. That took the Saints. We're going to try and get 9-8 across the line, out the underdogs outright. But the problem you have, JJ, is that the Patriots beat the hell out of these bad teams. They win by margin all the time when they play these bad teams. And Drake May wants to validate this MVP candidacy over 1.5 touchdowns. You might as well go ahead and play that at the juice. Go ahead and play 3 touchdowns if you want. The Dolphins have 7th most passing touchdowns at 1.75 per game. They're giving up. This is my guy, Brandon Anderson, hooking up some of this. Look, everybody has a day against this Miami defense. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. 6 times against Miami, 18 total touchdowns. I'm sorry, JJ. I feel like this is Drake May going ahead and just grabbing the MVP. He's already the prohibitive favorite, so he might as well just close it on out.
Raheem, this was an honorable mention for you for your wise wager. You decided against this game for your wise wager, but why do you look at this game and see New England in an absolute rout?
Well, House broke it down. The Patriots, they dominate bad teams. That's what they've been doing all season long, and there's no more fitting way to end the season by beating a bad team. And I think the most interesting thing about this game is I wonder if Mike McDaniel is going to be a head coach of the Miami Dolphins tomorrow. Tomorrow is Black Monday, and the way Drake May is playing and the way he's probably going to go on a victory lap tour today, this could be the end.
See, wow. I don't think Mike McDaniel's future is going to be determined by this game one way or another. I mean, they're not playing Devon Achane, they're not playing Jalen Waddle. They got to figure out what they're doing with their GM. To me, this is not one of those correlation games, Stream, where it's like, hey, if the Dolphins play well, McDaniel's going to stay. Hey, if they get their doors blown off, he's going to go. I, for one, don't see it that way. And Sal, listen, you got to take a big swing for this man's best bet.
Of course.
I'm not going to go and give the Giants. Yeah. You did it with the Raiders 2 weeks ago. At least they took you on a ride.
Yeah.
The Jets didn't take you on a ride last week. That you can see coming from
different kind of ride, not the ride. I think more of a kidnapping, but yeah, that was that was a crash. But I do feel bad for you, JJ. Everyone's like, "Oh, Patriots beat up on bad teams. Your team's a bad Dolphins." But it's so funny because if I would have showed you this line week 1 and said, "Hey, week 18, the Patriots are going to lay 13.5 to the Dolphins," you would have been like, "Oh, thank Christ, we made the playoffs. We locked up the 7th seed or the division or something, and we're sitting 2 and we're sitting HN and Waddle." Well, it's something like that, but not the where you want to be in the standings exactly. It did go from 10.5 to 13.5. I think this was after the HN news, right? It already had been 10.5 and HN was out.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So this is a little hefty. I'm staying away from this number. I'm going Drake May under 29.5 pass attempts. I think there's going to be a little scoreboard watching here, and we know Drake May did the unthinkable last week and torched the Jets defense, a secondary that hasn't forced an interception since what? Obama's first administration or something like that. So he's clearly the MVP, no doubt. But I do think that the Pats are going to be looking at that Denver game, be like, well, we can't get a 1 seed. Why are we playing these guys in the 3rd and 4th quarter? So it's a good under game for some player props if you follow that narrative and you think the starter's going to sit eventually. 29.5 attempts is a lot to accomplish in 3 quarters. He had 23 against Miami in week 2. He had 23 or fewer in 2 of the last 3. So if they're offering unders, I'm taking a lot of them in these tweener games that might not see 4 quarters of starter action. Maybe under 29.5 attempts at even odds.
A lot more coming your way in this loaded Week 18 edition of the Ringer Sunday Pregame. We'll get to the NFC seeding proceedings. We have a family meal still to come. And can we cash in on some incentives? Find out next.
So Ravens and Steelers. Steelers 3.5-point underdogs at home in this game. We don't know if Lamar Jackson's going to play. I don't know if we're going to know that until, honestly, Sunday morning. It feels like one of those, but we'll see how the rest of the week goes here. What's your headline, Deontay, for this one?
It's Jaws of Life, Derrick Henry. I'll say in parentheses because we don't know his status yet. Lamar Jackson save Baltimore season. I think that. I think this is a Baltimore win. I think this is one of those John Harbaugh escapes after all the scrutiny over the last 2 weeks. I wasn't the first person to notice it, but it was very funny to me seeing John Harbaugh walk the sidelines with the play sheet when they were playing the Packers. I was like, oh, okay. Clearly, something, it seems to be landing, right? Like, whatever this criticism
Where are we?
is.
How many coaches are we at by week 18 are like, I'm going to be more involved? It feels like, a quarter of the league this has happened to at this point.
Hey, man, optics are everything at this point. Perception is reality at this point, especially if people are talking about your job security. But I think that they've landed upon enough over the last couple weeks. I think that they've learned, I would like to believe that they have learned that their identity is just in getting in the heavy personnel and mashing teams.
All right. I've got a similar one. I don't feel confident at all about it, but I've got Ravens claw all the way back to win division and host wild card game. So the winner of this game obviously is the 4 seed. They'll host Houston, Buffalo, the Chargers, the Jaguars. The losers out here, I think you nailed the analysis. I don't know what that Steelers offense. I have no confidence that they're going to look good with DK Metcalf, without DK Metcalf after what we watched last week. At the same time, it's like, I don't trust the Ravens. We've talked all season about the Ravens. There's no reason
they're always
to trust
prone
them.
to blow a coverage.
Yeah,
they're prone to miss a tackle.
It might not take a lot. Yeah, special teams. This could be a Tomlin special where all of a sudden Boswell's nailing 54-yarders and they're getting to play on special teams. So this game is destined to be decided by like a weird call or a muffed
this
punt.
is 100%
red zone
pass
turnover.
interference that gains an offense 55 yards because Aaron Rodgers took a deep shot, right? This is a face mask on 3rd and 21 that keeps a drive alive that ends up deciding the game. I'm with you 100% on that.
But here's the thing. I don't know that the game is that interesting. I don't think either of these teams is making a playoff run in the AFC. But the most interesting aspect of this game is what happens to the team that loses. And I've been waiting to get your opinion on this because you got the Harbaugh stuff, you got the Tomlin stuff, you got Rodgers. He only signed a 1-year deal. Those things are all interesting. However, friend and former colleague in The Athletic, Mike Sandow, had a piece this week. And here's the headline.
We are back. The Ringer Sunday Pregame rocking and rolling for Week 18 on YouTube and the FanDuel Sports Network. John Jastremski in New York, Cousin Sal in Los Angeles, Joe House in D.C., and our wise wager champion. You know I love saying it. Raheem the Dream Palmer in Las Vegas. Fellas, let's get to the NFC as far as the seeding goes. And a game that looked super juicy about 5 weeks ago. You thought maybe a division title would be on the line. You thought maybe a postseason spot would be on the line. Well, that's all out the window now because Detroit is cooked. They are done. They lost on Christmas Day to Minnesota. They had a devastating loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And now basically the Lions are playing out the string. The Bears are looking to lock up the number 2 seed. This line is at 3.5. You have a crazy high total in this game. Sal, this is a tough game for me because the Lions have nothing to play for. The Bears have a lot more to play for. But if you know anything about lunatic Dan Campbell, I don't get the sense this is going to be a mail-in game for Detroit. I think Detroit's going to be into this game. I think they're going to play their starters. I think they're going to be spunky. I think they're going to be competitive. And it might not make a whole lot of sense because they have injuries on the offensive line. It's been a terrible loss season for the Lions with all of the expectations. But I kind of think they go out with a bang here. I would take Detroit plus the 3.5.
I do too. I'm not as brave as you are. I'm making this a teaser and bumping it to 9.5 and putting that big number, as you mentioned, down to 56.5, playing the under there. You know, I'm really not sure who cares about having the 2 seed less out of Chicago and Philly. I thought about ratlining this, but changed it to a teaser. It's a dumb game that the Lions will probably win for no reason. And I know Ben Johnson's plan is to start his first string, but I'll bet anything that we're going to see a healthy dose of Tyson Bagent or Case Keenum for the majority of this game. You can't hang within 9 of that, Dan Campbell, and you have bigger problems than I thought. Otherwise, low scoring, vanilla game plan. So I'll take it under 56.5, 28-20-ish right in there. But honestly, if you can find any Bears player prop under Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, jump on them. I think Ben Johnson pulls a disappearing act with the first string.
Well, that's what is curious to me about this game, House, because you never know how certain coaches are going to handle the idea of seeding and whether or not they care about seeding. This is the first time we're going to see Ben Johnson as a head coach with his team solidified in the postseason. Does he strike you as a guy that would go all out to go and win this game and get the number 2 seed, or not necessarily?
I would say, yes, he sure does strike me as that kind of guy. This Bears team has shown no hiccups down the stretch, and this is a division game against his former team. I mean, I think that the Bears, the problem the Bears have in terms of rest strategy is they're playing the same time as the Eagles, so they can scoreboard watch, but Washington's not going to be up by 2 touchdowns, you know, and the Eagles aren't going to be up by 2 touchdowns either. So it's not going to give them any kind of clear path in terms of the rest idea. There are incentives out there for the Bears guys, and Dream's going to touch on one of them that I happen to like very much because I gave it out in August from Hercules with the Cousin Sal and Bill Simmons. We talked about the possibility of Caleb Williams cooking this season with Ben Johnson as head coach, but I think it's much more preferable for the Bears to host the beat-up Packers than to host anybody from the NFC West. I mean, the best path for the Bears to win a playoff game is to host this beat-up Packers team. So I think they're going all the way to the end.
Is that true,
the Bears
though,
have been
Raheem?
good to you. Oh, go ahead, Sal.
I see now I'm getting into the guess the lines thing, but I think the Bears took a look at the 49ers, the shell of themselves last night, and said maybe the 3-6 isn't so bad after all, versus beating the Packers 3 times. I don't know. Could
And it would be a division opponent that knows you better than anybody.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know the Packers are beat up, but if you think about it, they won the game by 7 at Lambeau Field. They easily could have won the game at Soldier Field if we're not talking about an onside kick. But Raheem, got to hit you on this. The Bears have been great to you all year. They've been your squad. They've been your dudes. Are you riding them one last time in Week 18 before the postseason?
I'm not riding them here because I think my number is pretty much like my number shows value on Detroit, but I don't think Detroit is the Detroit team that we've seen from earlier on in the year. So you look at that game against the Bears earlier this year, they put like 52 points and ran up the score. I don't think that Detroit team exists here. They got some injuries on the offensive line, a little banged up. And if you look at the market right now, FanDuel is at -3.5, juiced up to -120. And you're also seeing some 4s in the market and some 4.5s. So that indicates to me that Ben Johnson is going to be playing his starters, and they're going to be going after this game. I think the best play on this game is probably playing the over. I mean, you're looking at 50.5 on FanDuel Sportsbook right now. We know 51 is a key number in terms of NFL totals. The only concern I have is Jared Goff. You got to remember, Jared Goff in cold weather has not been good. You're talking about 28, 30 degrees out there in Chicago. So, I mean, you're looking at both of these defenses. They're struggling. So I would be looking to play the over if I had to play anything on this game. But right now, I have nothing.
Fellas, apparently Sunday, January 4th, is a new national holiday. Breaking news. The national holiday is Happy Double 13-Point Tease Day. This holiday is not mandated by the federal government. It is mandated by our boss and our pal, Bill Simmons. There you go.
What?
Sal, is he looking for a new idea? There you go. It's a new holiday.
Did he
Double
put that in
13
there?
point tease day.
I thought today was National Tight Ends Day. I thought that the tight ends got like 4 special days a year, and it started
No, they
today.
have enough.
All right.
They have one. That's enough. Do you guys want to hear this second tease?
This is going to look exactly like the first one. Go ahead.
You're right about that. 3 of the 4 legs are exactly the same. And then the last leg, Raheem, happens to be Baltimore plus 10. That's one I will be rooting against because I have a lot of money on the Steelers. Just throwing that out there.
I don't see Baltimore losing by 10, especially when you consider that the total is 41. It's been bet down to 40.5. So
Pretty good.
I mean,
Pretty
you're looking
good.
at like 25% of the total. And that's what you call like a correlated
I
parlay.
think this national holiday is going to be one to celebrate. And unfortunately, Sal, apparently sugar and sweets and all that good stuff. House, is that accurate? Is our guy giving up all that good stuff
He's
after
done.
the holidays?
Oh, he's done it before. I'm going to go out there and ruin it, though. I promise. I'm working on a trip right now. I got to figure it out. When in January, February, I'm going to go out
What are
there.
you bringing? Pizza?
I'm not bringing anything. I'm just going to insist that we go out.
Oh, you're just gonna be a
for
bad
every
influence.
meal, and there's going to be giant spreads of pasta and pizza and Sunday. Those be on the table. I mean,
I'm with you. We'll shove a loaf of sourdough
See?
bread down his throat, his skinny throat, and that'll be
See,
that.
I couldn't
Me
pass.
and the cuz.
As a New Yorker through and through, I could not pass up the pizza.
Couldn't
I am never
pass.
with
How could you
pizza.
pass? Exactly
And
right.
when you're a skinny man like me, you can get away with it. At least for now. We'll see how I look in 10 years.
He's a pretty
but I can get
skinny
away
guy
for
too.
now.
You see how much time he spends in the sauna? I don't understand what
His
we're talking
weight
about
hasn't
here.
fluctuated 3 pounds in 2 decades. It's ridiculous.
Seriously, it's
Eat a
outrageous.
pepperoni pizza.
Fair enough. Boys, let's get back to the NFC East. The Commanders, Joe House's team,
Hey.
mercifully sees their season come to a close on Sunday. They're getting 3.5 in Philly. The total for this game is disgusting. It's 38.5. House, I'll start with you on this one because it is your Washington team that a couple of weeks ago played Philly, and they were not happy with the way Philly ended that game. Dan Quinn made that abundantly clear. Do you think that will be a narrative and a storyline going into Week 18, or is this going to be totally overblown and a whole lot of nonsense?
It's definitely overblown, but Washington doesn't really need motivation or incentive to go into Philadelphia and try and beat Philadelphia. Washington is definitely trying. This is not a rollover. They are not sitting guys. It is Josh Johnson, the quarterback, so best of luck. But the Eagles seem to be sitting every important player at every skill position on both sides of the ball. So Washington has a chance. I will remind everybody, until Marcus Mariota got hurt in that game where they were hosting Philadelphia, Washington was very live as the fourth quarter arrived. Now, putting Josh Johnson into that situation, he immediately threw a pick and that game was over. But Washington's defense was up to the task. They had Philadelphia at 10 points through 3 quarters. So Washington is trying. Let's talk about this Washington defense. And Von Miller, who stands to earn, we're going to do a lot of incentive talk, $500,000 if he records a sack today. That will get him to 9 sacks. It's one of the incentives they put into his contract. If you parlay Washington on the money line, they're definitely trying. And Von Miller to record a sack, that will get you plus 465 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Those things are correlated. The defense is going to try. Washington's trying to win. They will finish with a 3-3 record in division if they beat Philly. That's something to hang your hat on for Dan Quinn. OMG plus 465, Washington money line, Von Miller to record a sack.
Speaking of the Commanders' money line, Sally, man's best bet?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm digging this spot for your team, House. This is going to have to make the big screen because it's my underdog pick of the week, my man's best bet, which has not been good, truth be told, over the year. But it's simple. I think if you can get plus 146 going against Tanner McKee and Philly's stepbrotherly love children, then you have to do it. And Josh Johnson, you mentioned him. Not bad against Dallas last week, House. Full practice definitely helped them. You know, now they're operating on extra rest. Dan Quinn wants to steal a W and split with Philly, who really doesn't care, clearly. They sat their guys last year, week 18, and had like 50 yards rushing. Not a lot of offense. We may see Big Dom playing nose tackle by the fourth quarter. Give me the Commies plus 146 as my man's best bet.
Before we get to your play on this game, Raheem, got some breaking news from Schefter. Kirk Cousins not feeling great.
Oh.
The Does that change the calculus at all for Atlanta and New Orleans? I'm just throwing it out there because it's one of the biggest games of the day, and I just got this across my feed. What do we make of this Kirk Cousins flu game?
I might have to hedge. I got to think about this.
Look at you.
What about Gardner's? I thought hedging's for Gardner's, Raheem. What happened?
No, it's a lot of money.
Happened?
That's a lot of money, man.
I know it's a lot of money. I'm advising that you hedge.
Give him a minute.
I'm just using your word choices. I hang with you. I know what the
you got to give me some time to think about it.
That's all.
But let's talk about Eagles Commanders. So, January 1st, 2012, Matt Flynn, he comes in for Aaron Rodgers, puts up 480 yards and like 5 touchdowns. Now, I'm not saying Tanner McKee is going to do that, but if you're in and around the Philadelphia area, there's a lot of people who think Tanner McKee could be an NFL starter in this league.
Stunning. Those geniuses down there think that. God bless.
There's a lot of people who think Tanner McKee is better than Jalen Hurts. I'm not going to go that far.
No, you're not.
I do think the Philadelphia Eagles, I know they're not playing a lot of guys, but you can't bench everybody. This is not basketball. So I'm doing a same game parlay. I'm laying it with the Philadelphia Eagles at home. -3.5 on the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm taking Tanner McKee over 223.5 passing yards and Tanner McKee over 1.5 touchdowns. You look at this Washington Commanders defense, they are abysmal. 32nd in EPA per play, 28th in success rate on defense. So I think even with the Eagles benching all of their guys, you bring in Tanner McKee, who's going to be slinging that thing. He's playing for a job right now. He's trying to be a starter next year. I think the Eagles are going to win this by a touchdown. So that's my bet.
You don't have to do this, Raheem. You don't live in Philly anymore. You're not going to get jumped walking out of the studio if you take Washington here or go against Tanner McKee.
I'm a Tanner McKee truther.
So that's great. Those props are phenomenal. Why don't you just put those with the Washington money line and get like an 8-1 play here? Let's
interesting.
go. The McKee props are live. I have no argument against either one of those. Those are phenomenal against this
if Washington
defense.
were at home, I would agree with you, but I just think Philadelphia being at home, they probably just want to win this one for their fans. I think Tanner McKee, he balls out.
He played a week 18 last year. It wasn't bad at all if you look at his numbers. I wasn't going to add that. It doesn't fit my narrative, but wasn't really bad.
And Josh Johnson is not good. I know my Cowboys defense made him look good, but I don't think the Eagles backups will make him look that good.
My God.
Let's get to the late afternoon window, fellas. Arizona and the Rams. Now, I want to give you guys some context for what this line was looking like about 5 or 6 days ago and to where it's at right now. There were a lot of 7.5s in the market because if a certain storyline went a certain way, Seattle would have been locked into the 5 seed. It didn't go that way. Now the Rams actually have something to play for because if they beat Arizona, they get the hapless NFC South wild card weekend. If they lose to Arizona, it will be a trip to either Philadelphia or Chicago wild card weekend. So I think it's fair to say, Sal, if you're Sean McVay and the Rams, it behooves you to go and lay the smackdown and win this game against the Cardinals. The question is, are we going to see Stafford? Are we going to see Nakua? Are we going to see the full complement of Ram players out there for 4 quarters? I don't think we need to see that, but you got to go and lay 14.5. This was going to be my rat line when the number was at 7.5. Now, I can't even put it as a rat line. It's just, I don't know what to make of it. It's 14.5 points, for goodness sakes. What are we doing with this game?
I wrote down pass-leaning Rams, but you're right. This is when it was 7.5, and then 10.5, then third down 14. I mean, you want to check, JJ? Is it 17.5? Like, how high could this go? This is ridiculous, and it's especially ridiculous because we don't know what McVay is going to do. He's one of the coaches that can pull the shenanigans for sure. He says he's starting all his first-string guys. I imagine he wants to play the Panthers or Tampa Bay in the Shakey's game next Saturday, but who knows if that's true? I get they control their own destiny for the 5th seed. Right now, I would take Arizona plus the points. I mean, I can't even figure out what I'm going to have for breakfast. Probably hotcakes at Marmalade Cafe. But I'm supposed to get in John McVay's head to see who he's starting. And maybe there is an outside chance that Stafford's like, screw this. I got to get for 5 touchdowns. Drake maybe had his day against the hapless Jets. And look how much it moved the needle. I got to get back in there. I know they don't want to lose 3 in a row going into the playoffs. But that number seems too high at this point. My God.
Crazy high. When does it get to a point, Raheem, where you look at the number and say there's value on Arizona?
Well, you look at Arizona, they've lost like 8 in a row by like an average of 20 points. So this has been a banged up team. We spoke about it last week when we gave out the Bengals. The whole team is in the hospital. The problem is just when you look at the Rams, they're banged up too. Even if the Rams play their starters, Devontae Adams is out, and then you got 2 guys on the offensive line, Kevin Dotson and Alaric Jackson. They're both all out on the offensive line. So laying 14 here is crazy. So I think if you got the 7, you did your job. But laying 14, you can't do it at all. So it would be take the points or nothing. But one thing I will suggest, if you look at the second half winner, Arizona Cardinals plus 225 right now on FanDuel Sportsbook, and they're catching 6.5 for the second half. Let's say the Rams go up by 14, 20 points in the first half. That number's probably going to be like a pick 'em or a plus 3.5. So you can get ahead of that now. Grab the Arizona Cardinals plus 225 on the money line for the second half and plus 6.5. And you can kind of finagle and do things from there.
Boys, the AFC South is on the line. Sally and I are invested because we have a preseason ticket that's not as juicy as the ones that Raheem Palmer gives out. I get it. We're not getting 8 or 9 to 1. We're not getting 16 to 1. It's a very conservative 3-10 on Jacksonville if they go and take care of business against Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans. This line has skyrocketed, as many of these Week 18 lines have. It is at 13.5. The total is at 46.5. Now, how's Cam Ward? Played pretty darn well last week. I watched a lot of that game. He made some really, really nice throws. He's starting to come on over these last couple of games. Is there a pathway to Tennessee spoiling the party down in northern Florida?
I mean, sure, there's a pathway. It's still the Jaguars we're talking about. Yes, they've been very impressive, probably the most impressive team down the stretch, but this is still a division rivalry. These teams don't like each other. There's a little bit of history between these teams, and the Titans have been competitive, right? They've been competitive since they lost to Jacksonville 25-3. They beat Cleveland 31-29. They lost to the Niners by 13, but that's inside this number right now. They lost. They beat Kansas City, and then they lost to the Shuckers by 8. So it's just too big of a number for a division game. They're motivated. They're trying to find something. They want to end on a high note. I like Jacksonville to win and Jacksonville to go ahead and win the AFC South and clinch the 3 seed, but I'm not laying all those points.
Raheem, you're taking a swing for man's best bet. Cam Ward, Tennessee Titans, you believe?
So my man's best bets haven't been good. I got to take a swing here to try to get to a respectable record. You look at the Jags, they've covered 7 straight games, longest streak in the NFL. And it's actually the longest streak in Jacksonville's history. And this number has gone from 10.5 to plus 13.5. At some point, this number is inflated. And you look at teams who kind of have everything to play for, as the Jaguars do. They're playing for the division versus a team in the division who has nothing to play for. Like, they're playing for pride, and they're playing to get Cam some reps. So you look at the Titans, they've been playing some good football lately. Last 4 weeks, they scored 31, 24, 26, and 26 against the Browns, 49ers, Chiefs, and Saints. I think the Jags defense is right along that level. So I think if Cam could continue to play some good football, I think maybe they're a little bit live here. So I'm going to take the Titans on the money line plus 570. It's taking actually plus 590 now. I'll take a better number, but yeah, I'm taking a swing here. Let's see what happens.
Full disclosure, when I saw that Devon Achane and Jalen Waddle were ruled out of this game, I wanted to make the last-minute audible and change to the Tennessee Titans. Unfortunately, my guy Raheem the Dream Palmer already took the Tennessee Titans from me, so I don't want to steal his thunder. I think it's a juicy moneyline parlay or moneyline bet. There are moneyline parlays out there that are juicy. We'll get to them later on in the show. Speaking of juicy, Sal, Jacoby Myers. You're looking at him as a guy you're looking to fade despite the hot streak over the last few games? Explain.
I think he's great. Look, more boring under bets for me. I'm going to go under 58.5 receiving yards for Jacoby Myers. He's largely responsible for the Jaguars' success this year. but I think he'll underachieve just because I don't think they'll work him hard. You know, he basically has to show up and smile, and they'll beat this crud Titans team. Sorry, Raheem, that's how I feel. He had 39 yards and 45 yards receiving the last couple weeks. Actually, he's gone under this number in 3 of the last 4. He makes a big catch and gets out. Let's play Jakobi Meyers under. But I will say this, JJ. I think the screw job, the money line screw job, is coming out of this division. So either the Jags lose in a weird way or the Texans lose. We'll get to that game in a minute. But remember a couple years ago, we needed Carson Wentz to win. It was a giant favorite, like a 13-point favorite. And I think it was the Jags that upset him in Week 18. And everybody lost any kind of Christmas money they had left over. And that was that.
Well, I'm looking to add to the Christmas money that I didn't get. So I'm going to try to do that with this Tennessee game. I mentioned a money line. Jacksonville, not going to get cute. Despite the fact that Raheem's plus 590 is super, super juicy, Jacksonville's really going to screw us here, Sal. We need them to win to go and win this division. We got them money line. We got Trevor Lawrence, 20-plus rushing yards. Cam Ward, who has been a resurgent quarterback at 200-plus passing yards. And your guy, Jakobi Meyers, at 5-plus receptions. And I guess that Jag number is an alt spread at -2.5. Close enough to a money line because, hey, they're not going to win by 1 or 2. They're going to find a way to win the game. But at SGP, talk about a stocking stuffer. That's a great way to start off 2026. Plus 688 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Gentlemen, when we come back on the Ringer Sunday pregame, there is so much more coming your way. We have we are not breaking. We got one more game to get to.
Let's do one more. Yeah.
We got your host, the Knucklehead. I was thinking we were going to break. I forgot about the Texans and the Colts. I don't even know where to transition from this. Hal, what's your take on this game?
I mean, Riley Leonard on the road. This is against the number 1 defense in D'Amico Ryans. And Houston is motivated, right? They'll scoreboard watch a little bit to see if Tennessee shows some life and make a decision. They already ruled out Nico Collins, though, so that does kind of reveal their perspective here. Feels like a tiny bit too many points, but who the hell knows what version we're going to get out of Riley Leonard and this Colts offense. I guess it's down to 9.5. I guess I would lay it, but Houston's in really good position, locking up the 5 seed, which is awesome against the AFC. You know, they'll get the Ravens or Pittsburgh, and I think they're fine with that. That defense is absolutely loaded. I guess I'd lay it, but I don't have a strong conviction.
You know, Sal, I think because of the fact that Phillip Rivers is not playing this Sunday, I immediately wanted to go to break and skip this game immediately. I don't see any path for Indianapolis winning the game outright. You want to tell me what does Houston have to play for? I don't know how Indianapolis is going to move the ball. You have something juicy, perhaps, on this game that looks rather icky with a total at 38.5. How are you playing Colts Texans?
A little juicy, and I don't blame you at all for wanting to throw the break there, JJ. It did seem like we went over 7 disgusting games in a row. It seemed like the perfect time to take a commercial break, but we do have to do one more. I'm going Colts plus 9.5, I guess now, and parlaying it with Stroud under 1.5 touchdown passes. You get plus 149 on a same game parlay. This could be, in a way, if you could figure it out, it could be the best week for SGPs. If you stick with your narrative, you get lucky with a couple of benchings and play the unders to your heart's desire, and that's what I'm figuring with this Houston team. They're going to Milton Berle it. They're going to pull out just enough to win, so I'm taking the Colts plus the number, plus Stroud under 1.5 touchdown passes. D'Amico Ryans is going to scoreboard watch, and if the Jags go up 17-zip on the Titans, he's not going to want to risk star power injury. So AFC South will be out of reach, and guys like Stroud will take a seat. Colts adjusted to double figures. Stroud fewer than 2 touchdown passes pays 149. Not a ton, but maybe pay off some of that Christmas credit card.
Let's try this again. Coming up next on the Ringer Sunday pregame, we got a lot more coming your way. Family meal is still to come. We got more matchups still to come. Can we figure out these incentives? The wise guys got you covered. Final hour coming up next. Oh, boy.
My next New Year's resolution is for the Buffalo Bills, and it is for the Buffalo Bills to get Josh Allen a number 1 receiver. Josh can only do so much. He was the MVP of the league last year. You've seen at times he kind of carries this team on his back. They've tried with Keon Coleman. They've tried with Shakir. They've tried to get him receivers, but they just haven't gotten him that number one. Now, how do they do this? Do they do this now in the 32-day first round of the draft? I don't know. But you could go out there. There are free agents out there this year, Sheil, that might work should they have, the cap room, which you can always make cap room if you really want to make things work, right? You have George Pickens out there that you can get for Josh Allen. Imagine George Pickens in Buffalo. You have Wendell Robinson that you can get out there. I mean, he's been good on not a very good team. You have not as sexy a name, but Alec Pierce is going to be a free agent this year that you can potentially go and get Josh Allen. Now, these aren't necessarily number ones, but they are quality Juwan Jennings you can go and you can try to get him. Mike Evans is going to be a free agent. You can kind of go get him a solid piece out there. And now here's one little bit off the radar, probably. We haven't seen him play this year because of injury. Got injured early on the season, but all reports are Tyreek Hill is going to be released by the Dolphins. Does Tyreek Hill go up to Buffalo and kind of have one last season in him? You could go the draft right, you get Cardinal Tate, you get Jordan Tyson from Arizona State. I think that this is the year that the Bills need to go and not just make the effort, but they need to hit on a number one wide receiver for Josh Allen, because you don't want this to be another situation with Josh Allen where the thing that was standing in his way all of these years we thought was Patrick Mahomes. Well, guess what? Now Patrick Mahomes is out of the playoffs, and the Chiefs dynasty seems to be on the way out. There's going to be changes in Kansas City. They're going to have different personnel. Travis Kelce may retire. So the Chiefs don't seemingly exist anymore the way that they used to in terms of getting in the way of the Buffalo Bills. There are other threats out there, though, that could, Joe Burrow could have, a resurgence, and he can now become another threat. The Ravens get it together. They can become threats. But seemingly there's a lane here for the Bills. They just need to get the right pieces for Josh Allen, because we've seen he can only do so much on his own.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you remember the Brandon Beane radio interview from last offseason? Do you remember what happened there? He is on hold with the Buffalo radio station. And while he's on hold, I'm sure you've been in this situation, right? You're on hold for the radio station and you can actually hear the show. So he's listening to the show and they're talking about, the Bills need, and they were ahead of it. I mean, these guys had it as a resolution.
Week 18 Ringer Sunday pregame with the Wise Guys on the FanDuel Sports Network. Of course, streaming on YouTube. John Jastremski, Cousin Sal, Raheem Palmer, Joe House. The cavalcade of Week 18 games rolls along. The final home game, perhaps, to ever be played in Buffalo at the old Rich Stadium, Ralph Wilson Stadium. They call it Highmark now. The hell with that. It's Rich Stadium. It's Ralph Wilson Stadium. And for what it's worth, for someone that roots for the Miami Dolphins, who would see their team go to Buffalo and lose on a regular basis, I can't wait to see a new stadium in Western New York. That place is a dump. Get rid of it. Goodbye. I can't wait till it's gone. Well, the folks of Western New York would maybe beg to differ. They're going to have a party. They're going to be throwing people through tables, and they get to play the Jets. I mean, you want to talk about the ultimate get right, the ultimate game of just bloodbath potential. That's what you have here in Western New York. Now, earlier in the week, fellas, this line was hovering around 7.5. So I think a lot of people were of the mindset Josh Allen is not going to play. Buffalo is not going to play a lot of their starters. And that's going to be that. Well, you wake up on Sunday morning, Raheem, this line is now at 11.5. The total is at 38.5. I still think the Bills are going to let it smack down. The Jets have put together a stretch of football that is as bad as any stretch of football I have ever seen by a professional team. No exaggeration. Their month of December was historically bad. But what do we make of this line moving 4 points here in the last hour?
So it seems like the market is on the same page as me. So I woke up this morning around 3 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This line was 7.5. And I put into our production document that I wanted to take Bills alternate spreads. And you guys know I've been doing these alternate spreads all season long for my Oh My God bet. I was going to lay Bills minus 13.5 and try to get some odds on it. Well, unfortunately, that number has moved to about that point. If you look at the Jets, they've lost 6 out of the last 7 games, and every single one of those games has come by double digits. They're losing by an average of 22 points per game since week 11. And the biggest thing for me here is that this is the last game in Highmark Stadium. And I'm big on these situational spots. You guys know I have my analytics, I have my model. But when I see a situation spot, I see a tragedy, I see the last of a situation, I'm kind of factoring that into my handicap. And you look at the fact that they're going to play Josh Allen. Maybe he doesn't play the whole game, but I'm pretty sure Josh Allen wants to go out there and make his mark in the last game ever in Highmark Stadium. And even after Josh Allen comes out of this game, Mitch Trubisky is far better than Brady Cook. Like, Brady Cook is going to make him look like Joe Montana. So Mitch Trubisky could start this entire game, and they still could win by 14 to 21 points, in my opinion. And then you got to consider the Bills can clinch the number 5 seed with the win and losses by the Texans and the Chargers, and we know the Chargers aren't playing anybody. So I think the Bills lay the smackdown here. We'll see what happens, though.
So last week, I hate to do this, but I'm going to remind you, I took the Jets outright against the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
You're not seriously going back to the well with the Jets in any way, shape, or form, are you?
Yeah, because then I don't have to do it again until September 8th or whatever, right? I mean, I'll have like 9 months to think about it. But first things first, Raheem woke up at 3 in the morning, looks so much better than I do. I woke up like 45 minutes ago and I've been taking naps during the commercial break. So hats up, whatever you're doing right, Raheem. Good job by you. But these lines keep moving on us during these commercial breaks when I'm sleeping to 10.5, 11.5, and it's a boring narrative. But some of these teams that don't care to win are not going to win, or at least not going to cover. And that's what I feel like with the Bills and Jets here. They sat everyone last year in Week 18, and Joe Milton went nuts on them. Now, they say they're going to start everybody, but I don't believe it. And I don't know that Mitch Trubisky is going to throw the Jets' first interception this year. And Jets certainly aren't showing much. The way to beat the Bills is to run against them. Breece Hall is out. But listen, I'm willing to go 1 unit, maybe an eighth of a unit on the Jets plus 10.5, 11.5. Again, Bills players props under if you can find them. I think it's going to be one of those games where they're pulled in the second quarter.
House, here's what I want to know. The Jets have not recorded an interception this entire year. Will they get their first interception in Week 18 against Trubisky? Yay or nay?
No, sir. And my favorite play of the week, as it relates to this game, it's not my favorite play of the entire week. Just the Bills to cover the first half, minus 6.5 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Let's just make it easy. Bills go out, go up by margin, kick some ass. Go ahead and lay the minus 130. It's perfectly fine. And then we'll see whatever happens in the second half. James Cook is number 1. I'll remind everybody, he is the leader in the clubhouse right now, rushing yards wise. I think they're probably incented. He's only up by about 50 or so on Jonathan Taylor. They're incented to let that man go ahead and achieve that great accomplishment. So the Bills winning by a little bit of margin. I have no idea what to say about the second half, but minus 6.5 first half is how I'm playing it.
No player props available on this game right now for fans. So even there at FanDuel's like, well, what? We don't know. We're not believing anything anyone says right now.
Well, here's what I do believe. Buffalo's going to win this game, and they're going to win it going away. So they're safe in any money line parlay, tease, all that mumbo jumbo. Okay, moving on. Green Bay, who is not starting Jordan Love, who is not starting Malik Willis. They know they're going to be the number 7 seed. They literally have nothing to play for in Week 18. They go to Minnesota. The Vikings trying to, believe it or not, put together yet another winning year for Kevin O'Connell. They had the great win on Christmas Day, covering 7.5 and winning outright against the Lions, knocking them out of the postseason. This line, Sal, was around 7.5, 8.5 for most of the week. Well, we sign on to do the Ringer Sunday pregame, 11 a.m. Eastern. The line has moved quite a bit. Notice a theme. Notice a trend that you're seeing in a lot of these games, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Talk about prep. You got to be on the fly. You got to be audibling at the line of scrimmage like you're Peyton Manning seeing hot routes in Red 7. 12.5, Sally boy. It's the last week that lovely Wise Wager Trophy will be residing in California before it makes its way to the desert and makes its way to Raheem Palmer for your final wise wager of 2025. Are you laying the lumber?
I am laying the lumber. This show is like Groundhog Day. Like every game is like, it was 7.5. Now it's 9.5. Now it's 10.5. Now it's 12.5. Is this your wise? Yeah, I don't care. By the way, I'm not in contention anymore. I have to relinquish his trophy to Raheem. Good job by him. He puts in the time. He's willing to wake up at 3 a.m. I won't do that. I will not do that. But I am 10-7 this year in wise wagers. 3 years in a row with 10+ wins. I talk to other world leaders. They say they've never seen anything like it. How do you do it, Cousin Sal? Covers, Action Network all wrote about how it won't be duplicated. 3 years, 10 wise wagers in a row. Rolling Stone, I think, wrote a piece. But I'm going to go 11-7 with the Vikings minus the points. I would take this at 14.5. I think it's a great spot for Minnesota. Going for number 5 in a row. McCarthy with something to prove. Got to get Jefferson back on board. Got to get the franchise back on board. And so they don't start talking to Aaron Rodgers for the 2026 season. So they're up against the second string Packers at best. We saw that first string Packers defense, not good. No Love, no Malik Willis. They have the 7 seed locked up. So I'm betting basically on Brian Flores' defense, who's also auditioning for another coaching gig, I would think, over Clayton Tune. That's who's starting for the Packers. I think this will end up like 34-13 in that range. Love the Skol this week. Let's go get it with Minnesota.
House, before you make your point on this game, the light of God is like shining upon you. I don't know what has happened in the House compound studio. I'm just curious.
I will tell you, it is illuminated. As soon as Cousin Sal put that wise wager trophy up, there was excitement in the room. Now, Dream has won, but I've also been 11-6 on my wise wagers, trying to close out the season 12-6, and all of a sudden the bright light has appeared. I am on commercial break, going to make sure that there's not a fire that's getting started over here.
Yeah, I hope everything is okay in the House studio. That was my first question.
Wait 20 minutes for the next commercial. You should be fine. Yeah.
I'll just run a break prematurely, like I tried to do in the last segment.
I think we're okay, but we'll get into the tech here.
Now, you got to make this point to me, House. Justin Jefferson's been one of the best receivers in the NFL since he's come into the league.
Yes.
This has been a nightmarish season for him.
Yes.
It's been as bad as can be. He's not been on the same page with his quarterbacks. He's looked incredibly frustrated. Yet in week 18, you, sir, with this light shining upon you, cannot wait to bet on Justin Jefferson. Please make the case.
Well, he's under 1,000 yards right now, and that's an important milestone for him, legacy, career, everything else. When folks look back, they'll say, oh, yeah, he had Brosmer, and he had Wentz, and he had McCarthy, but it's still JJ. So I like him going over 68.5 receiving yards. I think this will be a point of emphasis for this Minnesota offense to get this man his yardage. And if you want to go ahead and get JJ to 100 yards today, that's plus 285 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. A little bit of like, we're going to leave the season with a good flavor in our mouth. Minnesota could end up 9-8 and 4-2 in the division if they win this game outright. We'll look back and say, hey, Minnesota team. It's because that defense absolutely kicked ass over the last 6 weeks here. I think that continues, but on the offensive side, we're going to have this very rich discussion about McCarthy all season long, off season long, and he's going to end up with this very nice game to Justin Jefferson. Everybody say, well, we had that week 18, Justin. I want JJ getting over receiving yards today.
You know, it's wild, Raheem. I thought I was going to be on alternate spreads for this Viking game against the Packers. The problem is you can't really get alternate spreads when the line just keeps going up and up and up and up and changing and changing and changing. But we all like the Vikings. Will you make it 4 for 4?
Well, I'm not going to suggest that anyone lay the worst of it. We got 7.5 in the Ringer 107. It's now up to 12.5. So I can't suggest this wager in good faith. So what I will do is I will give an alternate wager. And I want to shout out my guy, Cleve TA, for this. I can't take credit for this. Let's go with J.J. McCarthy over 190.5 passing yards. And let's go with J.J. McCarthy over 26.5 passing attempts. Now, the logic for this is the fact that you saw the news reports. They're talking about trading J.J. McCarthy. The Minnesota Vikings have to see what they have in J.J. this week. So they're going to be throwing the rock all over the field this week. So I really like those J.J. McCarthy props. I think that's the best way to play this as opposed to laying the 12.5 with the Vikings. I think the Vikings are still going to cover. I think Sal is going to get to 11 wins here, but the fact that it was 7.5 and it's now 12.5, in good faith, I just can't personally give that out, but it should still win.
Do you know I get $150,000 if I hit 11 wins? You have these incentives in your contract?
You got to work that in. Nah, I don't.
Oh, really?
You need to work that into your next Ringer contract.
Oh, I shouldn't have said anything. Now I feel bad. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks. We appreciate that. Final thought on the Vikings. You might remember this from the preseason over-unders that you did with Simmons. Was this number for Minnesota at 8.5 for the year?
I think that sounds right. Yeah, this was one of the tweeners. Yeah, is that right?
That's a miraculous over. If you had the Vikings over 8.5 wins and you cashed this in Week 18, miraculous.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of Brosmer action in there for it to go under. It didn't seem like it, but yeah, that's a good over for that.
Fellas, AFC North, Cleveland. Is it going to be the last game that Kevin Stefanski coaches with the Browns? A lot of people thinking the answer to that question is going to be yes. Shedeur Sanders at quarterback, taking on the resurgent Joe Burrow, the resurgent Cincinnati Bengals. Now, if you know anything about the Bengal-Brown rivalry over the years, this historically is not a spot where Cincinnati shines. They've had a lot of trouble with Cleveland. They've had a lot of struggles with Cleveland. That said, Brownies coming off the emotional win against the Steelers, hangover game, Joe Burrow and the Bengal offense red hot. Raheem Palmer, you are the champion of the 2025 Wise Wager proceedings. This is your final Wise Wager of the regular season. Make it a good one.
Okay, this number has moved, but we're still going to go with the Bengals minus 9.5. I think they're primed to close out this season very, very strong. They've won 2 straight. And outside of the shutout against the Ravens, they scored 32, 34, 45, and 37 points since the return of Joe Burrow, averaging a whopping 37 points per game in those 4 games. And now they're taking on a Browns team, which doesn't have the same defense on the road. They're allowing 28.5 points per game on the road this season. And if you look at the Cleveland Browns at home, their defense, they're allowing just 18 points per game at home. So I just think the Browns are in a tough spot defensively. And then if you look at them offensively, Shedeur Sanders is 43rd in EPA per play plus completion over expectation and 44th in success rate, 38.2%. They're also missing Harold Fanning, who's accounted for 28% of the Browns' targets and 26% of their receptions. So offensively, they're a hot mess. And defensively, we know they're not slowing down Joe Burrow. If you look at the Bengals on defense, for most of the season, they were 30th in EPA per play and 29th in success rate. But since Week 13, when Joe Burrow came back, I don't know if he gave them a motivational pep talk or not, but the Bengals are 11th in EPA per play on defense and 11th in success rate. So that defense is starting to ball and catch up with the offense. I think the Bengals lay the smackdown and close out the season strong, just like me.
I love it, Raheem. Full-fledged endorsement from your boy. I have Cincinnati. I bet it earlier in the week. It's 7.5. I would still go and bet it at 9.5. To me, this is the sort of springboard game that may mean absolutely nothing going into 2026, but I like to buy into narratives. I'm going to buy into this narrative. Cincinnati has found something on defense, and when Joe Burrow plays, it's obvious. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's having fun once again, Joe House. You never have to worry about that problem with me doing the Ringer Sunday pregame because I'm having fun every single week. You're never going to find me in a position where I'm like, do I not love this? Do I not love picking games even if I'm giving out losers? No, I love getting right back on the wagon and giving out as many as humanly possible. Are we going to have some more fun with Cincinnati?
I think we are, and I'm going to have fun tailing my guy Raheem on the final week of the season. Go ahead and get to my 12 wins, even though I can't catch him. 12-6 would be a pretty good Wise Wager record. So it is indeed my Wise Wager. Dream hit on the most important stuff. The interesting thing with this Bengals defense is, will it carry over into next season? And this will be the challenge for us next August. Did our eyes deceive us will be the question that we ask ourselves in August, because this Bengals team with Burrow and the improved defense, the defensive side of the ball, there's been some scheme changes. There's been some personnel changes. They got used to Al Golden, what he wanted to do. Al Golden showed some flexibility and adaptability, and it's been a pretty legit defense over the last 6 weeks. But, man, this is just about Cleveland. Off a straight-up win, an absolute disaster. 0-6 against the spread, failing to cover by about 11 points a game. 9.5 is less than 11. The Browns defense on the road, shout out Cleve TA. He's been capturing this all year long. It's his team. So he's been monitoring for 3 straight years now. This Browns defense, 5-20-1 against the spread on the road. And they allow every team they play on the road to go over their own team total. Bengals go big and roll on.
Well, Sal, 3 for 3. You're going to make it 4 for 4 with Cincinnati.
I am. I mean, even worse, I'm taking an adjusted minus 19.5. It was plus 360. It's probably a little less now, and it's my OMG. And it's my OMG primarily because I'm betting Cincy to win by 20-plus points, but also my OMG in that we are all on the Bengals, which is scary, scary stuff, JJ. And by the way, I'm wondering if Raheem, who clinched the Wise Wager title, is he resting his starters with this Wise Wager prediction?
That's a great question, Sal.
Yeah.
We got the B team. Is somebody making the picks for you this week, Raheem?
Yeah, what happened?
It's been on me. It's been 2 months since we lost a Wise Wager, so
you got to keep it going. I agree. You like Belichick. You play the starters. You want to keep the momentum going into the playoffs. Yes.
The crazy thing, let me ask Dream this real quick, cuz. This number was 7.5 all week long. It didn't. We watched all these other lines move by several points. The last hour, this line goes from 7.5 up to 9.5. What do you think happened?
Either some injury news or just some sharp money. But it's been funny because I haven't seen lines move like this on a Sunday in a really long time.
No, this is crazy. I love it. It's terrible for our graphics team because they're working their tails off and doing wonderful, wonderful work, might I add. For us who like chaos, Sal, this is perfect chaos, you know?
I guess so. I just know I'm going to be on the wrong side of it because you know me. I love the money line parlays like Simmons, and this is kind of the last week you could get a 10-point favorite in college or in pro. So I know I'm going to screw it up on a money line parlay. I don't think this is the one, though. 82-35 in the last 2 weeks. They've outscored them. Cleveland got their win last week. They're fine. And Myles Garrett could get his sack and break the record, and it still won't stop the Bengals from putting up 40. I think this is a good bet.
Boys, NFC East, a game that means diddly squat, unless you're concerned about draft position. The Cowboys, laying 3 at MetLife Stadium against Jackson Dart and the Giants, who are going to have themselves a new head coach. Sal, I know you're a good historian of the game, so I'm going to give you a little history lesson. 2004, Giants had a rookie quarterback. It was a lost season. Eli Manning in his final game in 2004 on Sunday Night Football took down your Cowboys with Quincy Carter and Bill Parcells, and it was a springboard for that young quarterback the following year to go and win a division title. Now, in no way am I suggesting that Jackson Dart and the Giants are going to go and win a division title in 2026. However, I question the motivation for the Cowboys. I know people are going to say, hey, draft pick this, draft pick that. The Giants threw that out the window by beating Vegas last week. Right. I think Dart's got something to play for. I think the Cowboy defense stinks. I think he wants something to feel good about going into the offseason. This would have been my man's best bet, but it's no fun because I can't catch house if I give out the Giants. I think the Giants, for the second straight week, are going to win themselves a football game because I don't think your team is going to care. Give me the Giants outright, and I'll take the 3.
Interesting. Well, listen, JJ, you don't have to go back 22 years to make me upset about my Cowboys. You can go back 22 hours if you want. I mean, this is just a miserable team. And it is sad how little this Cowboys-Giants matchup means now. There was even a classic battle in the beginning of the year where Russell Hustle and Bustle Muscle blew that game. But now the Giants are in a spot where they don't want to fall lower than number 2 in what could be a 2 quarterback draft. And not so fast with the Raiders thing and them locking up the one here, because the Raiders could easily beat the Chiefs and do something stupid. So there's nice trade potential in that 2 spot. They're already doing the smart things. They're holding tight end Theo Johnson out, not sending him to the IR, but sending him to Madison Square Garden to watch the Knicks, where he looked, he looked pretty spry, I must say. So I'm going to take the Giants under 23.5 points. I think they understand the assignment, a little ceasefire being called offensively. And before that brain fart win against the Raiders, they had averaged 16 points their previous 3 games. This feels just like that. 19-16. It's going to be cold. Everyone get out. Everyone stay healthy. Giants under 23.5 points.
Dream, speaking of line movement, why'd we see this line move off 3.5?
I've been struggling with this one all week because I get the sense that the Cowboys are going to play Dak, like at least a series or 2. And I just, to me, this line is short. But I haven't been good at Cowboys games for like half of this year. So I'm just staying away.
You'll always have that one in Vegas, though, Raheem.
Yeah.
Never forget about that one in Vegas.
Good
Yeah.
one.
Got to remind you when you called your shot.
That's true. But I mean, honestly, I'm not going to continue to back the Cowboys or play against them because I just can't get it right this year.
She kind of gave me a look, pointing me in a direction, thinking you might like Dallas in this game. Is that accurate?
You read me so well. We've been doing this for a long time.
Good thing you're not at my poker table.
I wouldn't go through all of this. We're not on TV at your poker table, I don't think. I mean, you get to get.
We
the
do
high
need to set up
stakes
the
game
live
going.
stream at my next game, though. That'd be worth the price of
high
admission. If
stakes.
FanDuel Sports Network is looking for additional content in the offseason, we can set that up.
or not. Dallas, I think is motivated. Like Schottenheimer doesn't want to finish 7-9-1. They would finish 8-8-1, and I sure hope they're motivated because I'm sitting on 7.5 as a win total.
Yeah.
I need them to get to 8, but they would finish inside the division 5-1 if they win this game. And Dallas beats the hell out of bad teams. We've been watching Dak Prescott. Here's the other thing: Dak is first right now in passing yards, and Stafford's only 50 yards behind him. I think Dak plays. You have to hang your hat on something to look forward to for this Dallas team. You just say, well, the offense cooked all season. Dak kicked ass all season. We had the receivers. The problem was the defense, so we'll shore up the defense. But I think that they're going to go ahead and take this game seriously. I expect to see Dak well into the 3rd quarter, and I think they're going to win by margin.
Can you imagine 5-1 in the division and we were eliminated like 3 weeks ago? That saddens me more than all of JJ's Eli Manning talk earlier. I can't believe it.
Yeah, at least that Eli Manning game was meaningless for both teams.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean, Sal? This is way worse. Speaking of way worse, we have one more game in this Week 18 card. There's a whole lot on the line for the Vegas Raiders. And no, it's not the significance of Pete Carroll maybe coaching his last NFL game. No, it's not the idea that Kenny Pickett is in at quarterback over Geno Smith. It's simple for Vegas. Not just win, baby. Just lose, baby. And you get yourself the number 1 pick, and you're probably getting Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana. This line was at 5.5, 6 for most of the week. Now it's come down a little bit. Chiefs laying 4.5. The total, it's disgusting at 36.5. Sal, is this your ride of the week?
Yeah, this is one of the 2 lines where people are backing the underdog, right? It went down. Yes, this is my rat line. Are you kidding me with this game? Do we like Chris Oladokun to cover 4.5? Honestly, do we like the Raiders to not screw up their golden spot in the draft order? Here's the thing, guys. If you bet this game on it, that really, you're going to have that 1-800 number on your tombstone. There's a half dozen other games in that late window to latch onto. Just skip it and assume the worst for the Raiders, please.
Speaking of assuming the worst, the Raiders, Raheem, they're the worst. You nailed it earlier in the year. That said, I talked you wisely out of betting the Raiders last week against the Giants because I told you it's a classic game that the Giants will go and win. It's Week 18. They should, in theory, know what the assignment may be. Are they going to upset the apple cart here and screw this up?
Look, I think they'll at least be competitive. The biggest thing for me is that I don't understand how you go from catching 13.5 to laying 4. Or what it was 5. It's 4.5 now. And I think the market is indicating that was just a huge adjustment. So Give me the Raiders here. I just think they keep it close. I think the one thing we could see is, you guys remember when I think it was Lovie Smith. He was a lame duck coach with the Houston Texans.
Good for him.
And he screwed him on the number 1 pick, which actually ended up being a blessing because they got the better quarterback in Stroud as opposed to Young.
I think that happens here because Pete Carroll is prideful. He doesn't want to lose. And I think this is a perfect spot for them to get a win or at least a cover. So that's what I'm doing. I'm taking the Raiders.
That's amazing. What a farewell
any interest
present.
in this game, House?
Well, the only interest is the intrigue. You know, somebody's going to do 2,000 words on this Raiders front office, the Tom Brady thing. We remember early in the season, Brady's in the box. Look out. He's got all that information. Yeah, he had a lot of information that helped his team look absolutely inept for the entire balance. But one of the things that's come to the fore is this idea that Pete Carroll, there were rival factions with this Raiders team, and that's what undid them. Pete Carroll going out and winning this football game and sticking it to the Bradyettes would really be something. I'm rooting for it. I'm actually now I got to get a little bit down on the Raider money line.
Don't bet
Boys,
this. Stop it.
We were oh so close a week ago. We hit 3 or 4. House, no more Eagles.
In my life. They can go pound sand. Everything having to do with the Eagles this season for me cost me money.
When it comes to offensive touchdown props in the Philadelphia Eagles, unless it's a postseason game and we have no other choice, never again. However, there's 1 week left in the regular season. Maybe this is going to be it. We've had about 5 3 out of 4s. That's not good enough. We need 4 for 4. We need perfection. Let's cook up the final regular season family meal. Let's rock and roll. Sal, leadoff spot. What are we cooking up?
I think I cost us in 4 of those 5 3 out of 4s, though. I didn't cost us last week. It was House, thank God, and no thanks to Saquon Barkley. So, but this week, Jahmyr Gibbs. This is more of an FU to everyone who needed Jahmyr Gibbs to win him a fantasy league last week or bet on him to do great things against the Vikings. He did not. He had like 60 yards combined. Today, he finds pay dirt at a hefty price. Is at 180, 185 right in there. He scored against Chicago in week 2. He'll do it again. You believe the Lions won that game 52-21. That's what the hell is going on in this league. 17 total touchdowns for Gibbs. Let's make it 18 in week 18. And we're on the board, JJ, with some leftover Detroit-style pizza.
Has you been great with these anytime touchdowns all year? You deserve the mulligan for Saquon Barkley because your logic was sound and precise. This week, you're giving me an anytime touchdown play that I absolutely adore. What's it going to be?
Yeah, I absolutely adore this Grater's black cherry chocolate chip ice cream. We don't have to do the stupid chili. I actually like the chili from Cincinnati, but we're going with T. Higgins plus 140. And T. Higgins is always in the shadow of Chase, but 10 touchdowns a season, same as last season, but on 20 less catches. So he's worth the contract that they signed him to. The Browns play man coverage in single high safety at the single highest rate in the NFL. And what Higgins does is absolutely cook against that defense. This is the Bengals scheme. He gets loose under this, both in terms of target share and in man defenses. He leads the Bengals 5 receiving touchdowns against man coverage. T. Higgins, here we go, plus 140 for T.
Raheem, you're looking at the game of the week. You're not getting cute with this one. Choo-choo, King Henry.
Yeah, let's go with Derrick Henry. Anytime touchdown, minus 135. He had 6 touchdowns the last 2 weeks, 4 last week, 2 the week before. This is a big-time game, and big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. I think this number is like this extremely underpriced. This number should start with a 2, and you're getting minus 135. Either, the books are crazy or I'm getting a bargain. I think I'm getting a bargain here, so let's lay the minus 135. And this is coming in the form of some Baltimore steamed crabs. You ever been down to Baltimore Harbor? You get some great seafood.
Oh, they're delightful. Old Bay, Maryland style, nothing better. I drool over my face. I need the bib. And I'm going to complete the family meal from one Henry to another. We go from Derrick Henry to Hunter Henry, because the Miami Dolphins can't guard a tight end to save their lives. Hunter Henry is at plus 115 for an anytime touchdown. Sprinkle in a little New England clam chowder to this family meal. And I just want to throw this out there for the boys. And I want this on record for the Week 18 Ringer Sunday pregame. I gave out an anytime touchdown that is not listed on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Sal, Jackson Dart was going to be my selection. Now, don't get me wrong. I like this Hunter Henry play. I think it's going to be a winner. But I feel like all of us should go and bet Jackson Dart to score the minute FanDuel gives us a line. Okay. Because I couldn't include it in the family meal. And you know how that works, right? Like, we're not going to get the benefit of it. Yeah. We're going to get screwed, and it's not going to work to our advantage. So when they put a Dart line to score a touchdown, go and do it, Sal. Think of me.
Well, not only that, we have to do the three, the Higgins, the Derrick Henry, and the Jahmyr Gibbs, and Dart, and disregard your TV pick, because that's what's going to lose now, right?
I suppose. Let's take a look at that family meal for Week 18. That cannot include Jackson Dart, but it will include Patriots tight end Hunter Henry at plus 115. Raheem is going with Derrick Henry at minus 135. House, T. Higgins, plus 140. Absolutely love it. And let's hope, Sal, that Jahmyr Gibbs treats us better than he treated fantasy owners in Week 16 and Week 17 when he was an out-and-out disgrace and cost me leagues, and we don't want to go there. But be that as it may, we're moving on. This is incentive week, gentlemen. We need to be able to capitalize on this. There are certain guys going for, whether it's 1,000 yards, whether it's a sack bonus, whatever it might be, we're trying to make the most of it on the FanDuel Sportsbook. House, you already gave out Von Miller. Is that the player incentive that we should be all over? Or you have anything else for us?
No, that's the one that I like the best. One sack for $500,000. I think that he's going to get his opportunities. The team will encourage it, and this is his last. He'll go out on a high note with Washington because he will not be on this team next year.
Okay, Raheem, what's our incentive?
Caleb Williams, 250 plus passing yards. Right now, he has 3,730 passing yards and wants to be the first QB in Bears history to hit 4,000 yards. He just needs 270 yards to hit the 4K. I think he gets it. So let's go 250 yards plus at plus 116.
Sally?
By the way, if you're Von Miller, $500,000 is a hefty number there, House. If you're Von Miller, do you contact the Eagles offensive line, whoever's playing, say, hey, $50,000 each if you let me get by?
Can we hook it up? Yeah,
let's
seriously.
do it. Be a smart businessman here.
It's all second string and third string. I don't think you have to call anybody.
Do some research. Yeah. Maybe they'll do it for even less. I'm going Hunter Henry. JJ, same pick as you, but I'm going over 4.5 receptions. He's at 55 catches. 60 gets him an extra $250,000. 65 nets him $500K, but let's focus on that 60. That would be over 4.5 catches, which is right at even odds, plus 102. What is going on here? At some point, the Pats will have nothing to play for except maybe something like this. He's had double-digit target games. Now I like Drake May under 29.5 attempts, but maybe it's Dobbs. God forbid Tommy DeVito gets Henry his 5th catch of the year or of the game, and the Arkansas alum gets his bonus there. It'd be good times.
You're going to have to wait on this one because they may not put up the line until we get maybe a half hour, 45 minutes away from kickoff. Calais Campbell is going to be playing in his last NFL game. Calais Campbell is a first-ballot Hall of Famer playing for the Arizona Cardinals. He's going to get a sack. Whenever you can get that line, get it. Don't think twice. Final game for Calais Campbell. He's going out with an absolute bang. Sal, speaking of going out with a bang, are you sad that the next time we chat, you will no longer be Wise Wager champion? Is the reality hit home yet?
I've done it now. I'm already not the champ, so what am I going to do? But what Raheem has done for me is we discussed this round-robin underdog thing. 6 big favorites, go underdog money line, round-robin them. 2 are going to win. I'm telling you, I'm going to do that for the next 20 minutes while you guys talk to Dabbundo about the freaking Texans under.
Frisky. All right, Sally, enjoy Week 18. At least the Cowboys can't break your heart.
That's right. See you guys. Good luck.
When we come back, Anthony Dabbundo, no Phillip Rivers, Texan under. What's his Wise Wager? He could have won the trophy. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Final couple minutes coming back.
Okay. I have a New Year's resolution, Billy. This is both for the Raiders and Max Crosby. It's finally time for a trade. You know, I think this is one, I'll be honest, I've talked about this before. I talked about it in previous years, and it's never happened. Every time Max Crosby says, I love being a Raider, the Raiders say, we're going to give you a new contract. But right now, this roster is horrendous. They're not close to competing. They're likely going to start over again. They tried for the quick fix with Geno Smith and Pete Carroll. They need good young players. And like their only way to get good young players is to acquire draft picks. And their only way to acquire draft picks is trading Max Crosby. You mentioned it. We saw the Sauce Gardner trade. We saw Micah Parsons trade. We saw Quinnen Williams trade. Like you can get at least 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby, maybe more than that. He'll be 29 next year. He's got a very tradable contract. I'm looking at teams. I just went through the standings. I don't know if you ever do this. Like who could be interested in Max Crosby? It was too many to name. I'm like Eagles, Bills, Patriots, Bengals, Commanders, Bears, Lions. Then I quit because I'm like, I don't want to just name every team in the NFL. But the point is there's going to be a huge market for Max Crosby. And if you're the Raiders, load up on picks the next 2 years. Try to build the roster the right way. And if you're Crosby, I respect the loyalty to the Raiders. But now for the first time, I don't know, did you see the whole story about him being sent home? We haven't talked about that.
There was a walkout and he came back. It was a whole thing. Yeah.
Whole thing. Yeah. He's got this knee injury. They're playing the Giants. It seems like they're tanking, but they're saying, we're not tanking. We just finally looked at an x-ray and his knee was too injured. It would be irresponsible for us to put him out there. And he's like, I want to play through it. He leaves the facility. He comes back, but Jay Glazer's like, I talk to Max Crosby on the phone every day, and maybe his future is in doubt with the Raiders, which we've never really heard before. So I want Max Crosby. Don't you want to be in big moments, in big games, know what it feels like to play with maybe just one other good player on defense, maybe compete for a Super Bowl? This is the time. No one's going to think any less of you. So I'm resolving for the Raiders to trade Max Crosby and for Max Crosby to tell them now's the time for a trade.
I think this is one of those things where, to your point, this has been, a good relationship for us, but we've grown apart, and let's end things amicably and leave. You mentioned Jay Glazer. Did you see Jay Glazer? So Jay Glazer somehow is everywhere at the same time. He knows everything that's going on with everyone that things are going on with, even if they don't know what's going on. Jay Glazer will tell you, hey, this is going on in your life. Yeah. Jay Glazer had the rare report during the Fox pregame show of things that were happening with a member of the CBS pregame show when he was
I knew it. Homestretch, Ringer Sunday pregame. Getting you ready for Week 18 in the NFL. Jastremski alongside Joe House and Raheem Palmer. And we welcome in a man who's had an outstanding year with the Wise Wagers, but there will be no trophy in Philadelphia. Maybe I'll get you like some sort of like a medal, gold star. I'll get you like an honorable mention prize, Anthony Dabbundo. It's a pleasure to see you. Happy New Year. What's going on?
Maybe like a silver medal. Can I get a silver medal?
I'm not going to give you a silver medal. I think that would be demeaning. No, I'll get you something that is not quite as cool as the Wise Wager trophy, but, it's like
in tennis when they give the big trophy to the winner and then the runner-up gets the little plate.
Yes, you get a little plate. I like that.
It says, hey, you came in second, nice job, or, good effort, pal, and then they interview them and ask them why they lost the match.
I'll save the interview for Laura Rutledge. She can go and do the interview with you after the season comes to a close. Before we start diving into these games, there has been crazy line movement on this Sunday. I mean, these games are moving like nobody's freaking business. I mean, you're seeing 7.5s go to 9.5s. You're seeing 7.5s go to 13.5. How do you make sense of the mess that is Week 18? Handicapping games, trying to figure out who cares, who doesn't, who's playing, who's not. Do you have a strategy on this or not really?
I mean, it's the hardest week to do content. That's certainly true. Like, it's probably the best week if you really want to lock in and you want to follow these injury moves, follow the who's playing and who's not playing moves, and you really want to lock in and get the best of the number and open up some potential middles and all of those opportunities. But for us, doing this Sunday pregame show, I put 3 or 4 things in, and all of them have moved in various directions since. So it is kind of hard to regulate yourself. But I think ultimately, you just don't have to bet every game. Don't feel trapped. Don't feel like, your life's going to change if you didn't get action down on Cowboys, Giants, or Chiefs, Raiders, like Raheem was talking about. So ultimately, this is actually my lightest card of the year as far as a Sunday goes. And I'm not upset with that, to be honest with you. I think life will go on, and we're going to have to lock in for next week for the playoffs. But either way, still have some bets I feel good about, but definitely my lightest card of the year.
So from that standpoint, AD, I felt like for my wise wager, I wanted to pick a game that I knew was going to have stakes, was going to have significance. I didn't have to overthink it. And to me, it was Baltimore and Pittsburgh, and I grabbed the 3.5 with the Steelers. Rah-rah spot for Mike Tomlin, the return of TJ Watt, the uncertainty of what the return of Lamar Jackson means for the Baltimore Ravens. I just think there are a lot of troubling signs for Baltimore, despite the win they had against that beat-up Green Bay defense that couldn't stop anybody last Saturday night. I'm on Steelers plus 3.5. Can I get you on board?
Yeah, certainly. I took Pittsburgh 3.5 as well. I think it's an overreaction to what we saw just last week. I mean, the look-ahead line. I think we discussed this on last Sunday's show when I came on, and we redid our own version of kind of guess the lines. And we said, yeah, we think Baltimore will be like 1.5 point favorites.
We thought 1.5 either way. I took Steelers. You guys talked me out of it. It makes sense because the odds makers and the metrics and the power rankings all up Baltimore. But you're right. We were thinking 1.5 for Baltimore. That was the consensus,
and now it's
right?
3.5. And I get that they looked terrible last week, and that they couldn't really move the ball, and that this offense without Darnell Washington, without DK Metcalf, is very limited and very reliant on players you can't truly trust. But I think the biggest thing here is that Baltimore still hasn't sorted out their pass rush. They still aren't getting consistent pressure. And so even if Rodgers doesn't have maybe the weapons he wants, it's a big difference playing the Cleveland pass rush, the Cleveland defensive line, where they struggled last week, and the Baltimore group. Baltimore very prone to giving up big plays. The Ravens have honestly blown multiple games this year as a result of that. And even in the first meeting, yes, Baltimore probably should have won the game. You could debate the Isaiah Likely catch, but the fact of the matter is Pittsburgh got a lot of big plays down the field in that game, and a lot of it was just Rodgers having time to throw. So I think that's the biggest difference here. We saw it last night with our Seahawks just completely suffocating Purdy. If you're not able to generate pressure, you are vulnerable, and that's the case for Baltimore's defense.
House, are you on board with the Steelers in this game, or is this a complete stay away for you?
I mean, I'm only willing to play it like in a teaser kind of capacity, which is why that's what I did. Teased Steelers up to 9.5 and an under. It's an underplay mandatory. Anything north of 40 to me between these two teams with this kind of thing on the line is a mandatory under. I lean Baltimore, but that's just because of my priors. That's just because of how much I invested in Baltimore at the beginning of the season, looking at both sides of the ball, thinking especially that this Baltimore defense was going to be formidable, that it was going to be the version of the Baltimore defense we saw down the stretch last season when they looked very, very live and honestly played well enough to beat the Buffalo Bills. Just couldn't get it done. So my lean would be Baltimore on the money line, but I'm not messing around with the spread here at all.
Dream, gut feel. Is this line 3 by the time we kick off at 8:20?
I mean, I think there's some 3s popping up right now. FanDuel has 3.5. I kind of just get the sense that FanDuel's probably taking a position here. And maybe they just, they want people who are betting Baltimore to lay the hook. So I think it's kind of a perfect line, if you ask me. I'm struggling with it because I think Baltimore has a preseason prior and a regular season prior. And you kind of have to determine what are they now. And I'm not sure what they are now. I just was hoping this would go either up or down because I thought with Lamar in, this would go to 4 or 5. And then maybe I could jump on the Steelers. And then I thought with Tyler Huntley in, this could go closer to a pick 'em, and then I could jump on the Ravens. But neither has happened, so I'm on the sideline for now.
AD, a lot of family unity in this next game. Browns Bengals. Every single one of us has an investment in the Cincinnati Bengals, some more significant than others. Cleveland historically has given Cincinnati a hard time. They usually play close games. They played a weird and wacky game going back to week 1 this year, yet Browns maybe a little hungover from the Steeler win. Browns defense not as good on the road. Shedeur Sanders still a hot mess at quarterback. And Cincinnati playing much better ball over the last couple weeks. Can you make a 5 for 5 with Cincinnati?
Yeah, I will, and I'll make this my wise wager. I guess we're going with 9.5 for the official contest. Is that we're ruling on this?
Unfortunately for you, yes.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We laid 7.5. I mean, look, you look at this injured list right now, and I just pulled it up. Inactives for Cleveland. Of course, Judkin's already out. Fannin Jr. out. And Njoku out. Multiple offensive linemen out. It's been a bit of a mash unit for a while now on their offense. And so you're looking around, and even against a Cincinnati team, which has struggled mightily defensively all year, all the metrics, the adjusted line yards, the success rate, the ability to run on them, the explosive plays, Cincinnati's defense, Golden has turned it around quite a bit. Their linebackers are playing better. They're getting a little bit more pressure, and their defense is closer to league average since the midway point of the season. So when you combine all those factors, I think it's going to be really hard for Cleveland to consistently move the ball here. I'm not really sure what the path is. Maybe the defensive line wrecks the game. Maybe Myles Garrett, gets his sack or 2 or 3, might need 5 to keep up with Cincinnati, because we've seen this before, and we've joked about this. If you bet the Browns at home, you win. And if you bet against the Browns on the road, you also win. So that's where I'm sitting here. Nothing jumped out at me necessarily across the rest of the board. So I'm going to take the Browns, the Bengals minus 9.5.
Okay, New Orleans and Atlanta. Significant for all the wrong reasons. No, it's not a battle of winning in for those two teams. They're playing to either get Tampa or Carolina into the playoffs. The line is at 3.5, total 43.5. We know Tyler Shuck has played really good football over the last 4 or 5 weeks. The Atlanta team has played some really good football over the last few weeks. What's your read? What's your feel on this game, AD? Because Noah Olave changes the calculus for me a little bit. I thought for sure I was going to be on the Saints earlier in the week. Now I have a little hesitation. What's your plan again?
Yeah, I kind of like the over here. I mean, the Saints have unleashed Shuck a little bit. Like, the pass rates in neutral game states have gone up. They've been more willing to throw the ball. They've been more willing to take chances. And I think they're realizing that, like, hey, our season's over. We're not going anywhere, but we want to get this guy reps. We want to see what he has. And honestly, not just the positive from the passing game, where he's actually been one of the 10 most efficient quarterbacks in the last 6 weeks, but also the running game. I mean, he's added to this offense with his legs in a way that I think wasn't really in the scouting report when we first learned who Tyler Shuck was, right? When he was this 26-year-old coming out of college at an old age. So I think that they're getting a little bit more from their offense. And I think Atlanta also, I know Kirk's sick, so that's not a great look. They are just so much more explosive when they play in that indoor environment that I think this game just seems a little low for the total for me at 43.5. So I kind of like the over here. I know the Saints defense has been better of late, but they haven't played a ton of great teams to make those numbers make a lot of sense to me. So I think over is the way to go here.
Little update on a line move. Dream, you're going to like this. We got a 4.5 now in the market on FanDuel. Atlanta now laying 4.5. Little FYI.
This is incredible. Like, I literally have not seen line moves like this in years. Was it like this last year in week 18?
Yes, but not to this extent.
Right.
There was line movement house, but this is one of the craziest days of line movement we've had in a long, long time.
Well, that must help my my money line situation with the Saints there.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, House. Sorry, I'm a bad host and I don't remember.
Plus 188. There we go. Go ahead.
Yeah, what did you get that line at when you gave it out on the show?
Mid 150s, like plus 155.
It's plus 188 now. Good call. Good call.
I'll take that. I mean, here's the thing with the Saints. They have slowly been working in Kevin Austin and Juwan Johnson anyways. Both those guys have been getting increased targets, so I like both of them overs. And I like this incentive. Like, Shuck right now, 3 straight games with at least 250 passing yards and 0 interceptions. He's tied with C.J. Stroud and Justin Herbert for the longest streak by a rookie quarterback in NFL history. If he goes for 250 and no picks today, he's number 1. And that really boosts the offensive rookie of the year case. He's sitting there at plus 430 right now. I don't understand this Ted McMillan love. The dude caught 70 balls and 7 touchdowns. He's not in, his best rank across the board is like 12th in some categories. Why are we celebrating Ted McMillan as the offensive rookie of the year?
They're not going to let you parlay shocking rookie of the year, right? And Saints today? No way.
I don't know.
I would assume not.
Well, that's the thing,
wrong.
right? So the Saints, it's a double-edged sword, or a double whammy at least, because if the Saints win today and Shuck plays well, that also kicks McMillan out of the playoffs. So that could make the case for Shuck even stronger. So maybe if you like the Saints, take a stab on rookie of the year at plus 450, because it was plus 150 yesterday. McMillan, he had that one nice catch. He had a fine game, but it's not like they won. It's not like they clinched the division.
4 catches for 85 yards or whatever.
One catch was 50 yards on the last play.
Yeah.
Not hesitating. Speaking of rookies, Anthony Dabbundo, Cam Ward has played much better over the last few weeks. He's getting 13.5 in this game at Jacksonville. It's pretty simple for the Jags. Win, and they are champions of the AFC South. Sal and I will cash our bet of plus 310 that we made at the beginning of the year. Total in this game is at 46.5. Pathway number 1 for Tennessee to keep it close. How are you looking to handicap this one?
Yeah, I don't see how the Titans get any stops here. I know that their run defense is not terrible with Simmons in there, but this secondary is completely decimated by injuries. There's nobody left. I mean, everybody's injured. They haven't stopped anybody for months in the passing game. And now Lawrence has the full complement of receivers available. And they all really complement each other well. And so I think this offense is just humming. And I think that I'm surprised the team total is under 31. I mean, I guess the case is that if they just get the lead and they just get passive and they're like, okay, we just need to get in and get out. But this is a huge game for Jacksonville. They have a chance to win the division, a chance to cap off a statement win, and a chance to run it up on a division rival. So I like Jacksonville team total over 30.5. I'm kind of surprised to see, again, like I said, it below 31. And the Titans secondary since week 10 is bottom 5 in EPA per dropback allowed. It wasn't great in the first half of the year. It's gotten worse over the course of the year as the injuries have started to pile up.
AD, final one. I'm shocked you're going in this direction, but you're going in this direction. Cowboys-Giants. Game that means absolutely nothing for the Cowboys. Giants, last home game for Jackson Dart. Lines moved from 3.5 to 3. You think Dallas is playing their starters for 4 quarters? That's the sense I get.
Maybe I shouldn't lay the 3. I haven't bet this yet. I'm debating. Should I just play the first half?
I like the Giants in the game myself.
You like the
I
Giants?
think Dallas is going to try. I don't think they're going to care.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that Dak has always owned this defense. It's a very favorable stylistic matchup for them and what they want to do offensively. They should be able to run the ball well, too. Like, the run game has been a problem for the Giants all year. I do worry that they'll pull the plug at halftime. So I'm sitting here like, okay, I like Dallas. This number makes no sense to me if you assume Dallas is playing full strength. But if you're assuming maybe they're only going to play a half, maybe you play the first half instead.
AD, you guys had Tampa in Ringer 107. You also had Seattle in Ringer 107. We taking a look at those Ringer 107 picks before we say goodbye, because we got a race to the finish. It's not exactly a race for the NFC West. It's more like the NFC South. But you have a Tampa-Seattle. That's a 1-1 scenario for you. House, we're both 1-0 starting off this week. We like that, Raheem. There was a lot of Seattle. And our guy, Shield, who's in the lead, had San Francisco. See a lot of Cincinnati. See in Atlanta. House, of course, you guys had to have a Baltimore and under parlay in there. So now we're going to have a ton of points with the Ravens and the Steelers. You know how it's going to work.
The avoidance of doubt, I am on the record on the Bill Simmons podcast arguing, not vehemently, but just saying, could we just leave it alone? Do we have to do this thing with the number?
No, at this point, you're not committed to the tease of the parlay. You just
I will say I am opposite the Atlanta pick with my man's best bet on the Saints today, but that's traditional.
Very quickly, AD, the Saturday night game in 6 days, wild card weekend, will be.
Yeah, we said the Chargers, right? So Chargers, Pats, Saturday night feels right. Rams, Panthers gets the shakies. Houston goes to Monday night. Maybe Bears, Packers Sunday afternoon. I don't know. This is a fun exercise, which apparently Simmons is accusing me of stealing, which is fair. But we've been doing this for years. I'm excited to figure out what the schedule will be. because it's a fun challenge.
Well, boys, guess what? We will be here for both Saturday and Sunday. All the wild card weekend action. The wise guys got you covered. For Anthony Dabbundo, Raheem Palmer, Joe House, John Jastremski signing off. Enjoy Week 18. We'll see you for a double dip next weekend. Enjoy the games. Be good, everybody.